Hello and welcome to the Six Sales podcast from Cannes in 2025, a series of short interviews with the movers and shakers in media and advertising, find out what's going on Le Creuset. So Jamie, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm good. I'm a little warm, but I'm good.
A little warm, yeah. There's a nice breeze here in the Havas Cafe, a lovely spot you've got here, just overlooking the beaches and stuff. But it goes away, doesn't it, that breeze?
It comes and goes.
Again, yeah.
It's definitely...
I think it's that fan over there that I've just noticed, actually. Kind of when it's pointing this way, we're golden, but then it just sort of goes off and looks after other people. So what's your role at Havas? I mean, I think everyone knows who Havas are. We probably don't need to explain that, but what's your role at Havas?
Yeah, so I am the Global Chief Data and Technology Officer at the Havas Media Network. As part of that, I also oversee a group called CSA, Converge Science and Analytics, and we focus on consulting with clients around data, analytics, and technology. Okay,
cool. And in terms of the conversations that you're having here in Cannes this year, I've noticed, I mean, it's pretty obvious to everyone, I suppose, that AI is one of the big topics, and attention being another one of the big topics, retail media. What are the sort of conversations that have caught your eye so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you can't have a conversation without talking about AI. It's just,
especially if you're the chief data officer.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that, a lot of the conversations we've been having around AI are around the real life use cases of AI and what we're able to do today, what we think we're going to be able to do tomorrow, and a bit more practicality in terms of AI versus what we've seen in the past. I think because a lot more has come to fruition right now. I think last year there was a lot more kind of pie in the sky, what is going to come. And I think we've started, especially, for us at Havas, we've done so much in the last year, leveraging AI in different ways, whether that is for machine learning, for agentic AI. All of those things are things that we've been experimenting with and putting within our Converge platform recently this morning, renamed Converge.ai. So it wouldn't be a press conference without some news like that. But that is really kind of the evolution of the AI conversation. But in addition to AI, I think part of what we're doing is talking about how AI is an enabler for other things. And so you mentioned attention, and I think attention is one of those things that we are also really focused on injecting into the platform. And I think it's not necessarily an AI conversation. It's just another element that we're overlaying into our Converge platform, into the conversations that we're having with clients around what is important for them to drive their business forward, and how do we think about new ways of engaging with consumers.
Okay, cool. So it sounds to me then, if I've heard you correctly, that you've moved very much from the theory of AI to the application of AI, and it's only
getting faster, but definitely a lot more application. Whether it's like in pockets of the agency, people just creating agents, people just creating different work streams that we're then productizing and industrializing, or if we're really thinking about it at the broad scale across the Converge platform, across all of our tools.
Okay, so we mentioned attention there. Obviously, to capture attention, data is really crucial because you need to know who you're going to be talking to and in what context. But creativity is obviously really important as well. So how to have us think about merging data and creativity? Yeah. If you were trying to think of like the typical data guy,
yes, exactly,
and the typical creative, maybe the creative sitting there stroking a beard, looking into the middle distance, and then you've got somebody on a computer doing the data. How do you merge those two things for optimal effect?
Absolutely. It's funny. Before I joined Havas, I was actually part of a creative-led agency, and I think it was a very interesting conversation to have. And I think it used to be they used to feel very separate, and I think now over the last few years, and I've seen this so much at Havas that. Whether it's from an organizational structure, our village model really brings the teams closer together. But also, I just think that the democratization of information, of data, part of that is driven by AI and agents and the ability to access data and ask questions in a natural way. But part of it is also just the proliferation of data and greater understanding between the two teams, what they're each trying to do. So the creative team understands what we're doing with data, what kind of use cases we can get out of it, what kind of measurement we can do, what kind of data goes into audience targeting and personas. They realize so much more now that there's a wealth of data that we can leverage beyond some of the more traditional sources that they've been using for many years that can help inform creative decisioning and creativity, and also production of creative. And I think that's where we're starting to also see the lines blur between data and creativity, is around the production at scale at speed. I think that's where we're starting to see both sides of the coin. And then from the data person's perspective, I think we recognize that there's so much more that can be done with the information we have. And I think that's where often data people get stuck in media, and we're creating dashboards and reports and we're very heads down. But I think there's a lot more now that we can recognize goes beyond media into the creative sphere, whether that is creative assets or creative media experiences.
Yeah. And would that all come under the umbrella of what Havas call meaningful media? Essentially the data and the creativity coming together to make it meaningful for the end
exactly viewer. I love it. You teeing me up. So I think it's there's so much about meaningful media and meaningful experiences for the consumer. I think it's, broadly speaking, a lot of times when we talk about data, we get into the weeds. We get into this data point from this data source, from mined this way and analyzed in whatever way. But ultimately, we are in service, yes, to the brands that we represent and to the brands that we're trying to support, but also into the media experience and the experience the customer has with our brands. And that, I think, all of those things come together to create that better media experience, that better overall customer journey and customer experience, which ultimately drives results for the clients.
Okay, I'm hiding most of my grey hairs under my cap, but they're there because I've been in this game.
Too, don't worry.
I've been in this game for nearly 30 years, and I remember a time where advertising, before programmatic advertising, basically, where high impact, big creative were put in contextually relevant places. It was quite a lot of heavy lifting from the agency's point of view, because you had to do that for each client and then make the creative at a different size. But it felt that when programmatic came about, perhaps collectively we kind of over-focused on the who we're trying to target at the detriment of the what we're actually putting in front of the consumer. It feels like quite an exciting time in the industry at the moment, because I think that's coming back, that creativity being blended with data, as we were just talking about, so that the thing that the consumer actually sees looks a little bit better now. I mean, there was it almost felt at some points that the creative was almost an afterthought. Once we've done all of our optimization and planning, we're going to probably have to put an ad in here as well. Would you agree? And do you think it's coming back?
I do. I think the pendulum swung a little too far in there was that adage of the right message, the right person at the right time. And while I think that holds true still, I think for a while we missed that right context, and that right and that right message was a little bit kind of hidden in the sort of mix. I think we are very much coming back into a better understanding of, yes, the person has to be in the right mindset to absorb the information. The context is really critical, especially, cookies going away, not going away, going away, not going away. Now they're not, but sort of. The world is still inherently like less cookied than it used to be. So context is so important. And I think the creative element of it, of getting people to see the ad, recognize it in its context and the value that it adds, in not just in the context of where it's being placed, but also in their mindsets and what they're intending to do. All of those things, I think, are coming together to really drive business and to drive results. And I think we're kind of, the pendulum has swung back to that, I would say, a pretty happy medium place where we're focused on sort of the right things at the right levels.
Sure. And how do you measure results? Because at the end of the day, these are all technical details that clients don't care that much about. They want results, right? So,
absolutely.
So how do you go about measuring results from this meaningful media sort of strategy that you guys have?
Absolutely. I think that, we think about results in a few different ways. Obviously, we need to deliver on the media expectation. So that's, there are traditional media delivery metrics. Did we reach the right number of people at the right spend at the right cost and things like that? But there are also, beyond that, I think, we begin thinking about how we measure against business results and outcomes. So it's not just delivery anymore. It's really business outcomes. And it's things, we can measure everything from, through a traditional MMM or even an evolved MMM or attribution solution. What is the media performance? But also, what is the incremental gain from marketing and media? And I think a lot of the things that we're focused on right now is around incrementality, and not just counting the success of my good friend Dan Hagen always talks about, counting. Somebody opens the door as you walk in the shop. Does that person count as a incremental sale. Not really. They were already walking in the door. So how do we truly understand the incremental impact of media and marketing on ultimate business results? And we're doing a lot of work right now within our CSA group to really understand and measure those incremental gains for clients, because that's increasingly important as we focus more on business results and driving overall business partnership.
Okay, cool. We're nearly out of time, and I think we're going to get moved on in a minute. There's a big event being planned in this very space, but since Lumen sponsor this podcast, and you're the chief data officer, I'd love to know how that data and that relationship with Lumen helps you to sort of inform the planning and buying process at Havas.
Absolutely. Attention is incredibly important, and Lumen has been a great partner for Havas. My friend John Waite couldn't be here, but
we love John.
I know, he is the best. And I think he really spearheaded that for us, but as a data point, as a piece of information, attention has proven to be an incredible metric for us to look at in terms of what we believe is going to change people's minds, what we believe is going to impact decision making. And we have really started to integrate and have integrated over the last couple of years attention data and Lumen data into all the things that we're doing. So we have a number of clients who are actively tracking attention via Lumen in their campaigns. We've also integrated the norms and benchmarks into our reporting solution for clients. So Converge Report is our reporting solution for all of our clients. We're actively integrating all of the attention data that we have into that. So, for us, it's also about making sure that even if a client isn't thinking about attention at the moment, we're putting it front and center for them to be able to understand where they're going and where we think they should be headed in terms of how people are engaging with their content and how their content can be more engaging if we think about it in a slightly different way.
Amazing. Jamie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
it's been
you.
A pleasure to speak to you. Before we get built on, I think we should probably wrap that up. But thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. Enjoy the week.
You too.